Shh. All right, let's everybody get settled down. We're going to get started here in a second. We're only 15 minutes late. Shh. Children, settle down. So Marty will let me know when we're live and on and good. We're live? Okay. Well, hold on. Ow. Okay, yeah, we're live. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Yeah. Come on now. I just wanted to make sure Billy was awake. Okay. So, this is, I don't think it's one of those things that you have to be careful to say or not, but I think this is still my favorite part of the feast. You know, I mean, obviously doing the holy days and doing Sabbaths and doing all the studies we do, but it's very important to me. Part of the mandate I felt like Abba gave me in putting the ministry together on his behalf was to do things that would engage the children. And so we have a tremendous program that we do all week long. Rebbe and Julie, my wife, puts together this program with her team. It's tremendous. Okay, they've been studying the 10 Commandments. And what I love about today, though, is that we get to see the presentation that demonstrates what they did all week. We get to hear about what they learned in class. So we didn't just entertain them and have them just play. We actually instructed them. And we did it in the form that was very subtle and looked like play. So they enjoyed themselves a lot, but they really did learn a lot as well. And so I'm very proud of the team that's put this together, the teachers that have worked with the children. Children, how good your teachers do, huh? We had a couple of teachers this is their first time working with the children, and we had other teachers that have been doing this for a while, and I think they did a great job. And so we're going to go ahead and start the program, and I'm going to bring up the director of the program of all the YMTOI things that we do, the Young Messianic Torah Observant Israel things that we do, my wife, Rebbe and Julie.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, as Rabbi said, this is my favorite day of the whole entire feast. It goes by entirely too quickly, but I'm very excited to present today's YMTOI presentation. I want to welcome everyone here in the tent and anyone out there on live stream. And as my husband said, the theme for this feast was the 10 Commandments. And each class had lessons designed specifically for their age groups. Our teachers will be coming up shortly to show you what that looked like. Here at YMTOI, we believe strongly in the mandate from Proverbs 22:6, which states to train up a child in the way they should go, so that when they are older, they will not depart from it. We take that mandate very seriously, and that is why at our feast we provide classes for our youth. Our younger children were taught by female teachers, which will be coming up shortly, and our Gadol students were taught by male teachers. Jewish tradition is that the women will educate the children up until they are bar or bat mitzvah, which is around 13 or 12 years old. And so that is why we have the male teachers for the Gadol children, so that as they are maturing, they will be learning from the men how to be more mature in their walk and in their talk. So, I want to also tell you about our YMTOI website. We have a website that, of course, offers all our Parsha Pearls lessons, but for those of you that didn't know, we also have a feast tab. And under that feast tab, we have the feast songs, which our own Shira Wendling wrote all the songs that are on the feast, under the feast songs. Yes, thank you to Shira. So it's a great way for parents to have their children learn songs that are appropriate for this walk. And she does a fantastic job. We also have under the feast tabs our old feast presentations. And after today, we'll be uploading the one from today. And I've heard from a lot of children that on Friday nights, when they are thinking of things to do that are Shabbat appropriate, they'll go to the website and look at the old feast presentations. As a matter of fact, you can find the 10 Commandments one we did 6 years ago, where a lot of the youth that are in this room were up on stage singing some really cute songs and showing us what they did, like My Children, the Shepherd Children, and the Meyer Children. So also under the feast tab, we have a photo gallery, which is also from all the previous feasts, so you can see how the children have grown up. Because what we found is that once people come to our feast, they come back and they become family, because the children love it so much. I've been really busy working with Parsha Pearls and trying to get that all done, but I will in the future have under the feast tab all our feast material. Everything that we've done here at MTOI, we're going to provide all our lessons for free on our website so that those of you who cannot come to our feast but would love to do the same lessons we do, we hope to provide that very soon. Okay, at this time, I really want to thank everyone who participated in the YMTOI program. And so I'm going to start with my YMTOI class coordinator, Betty Olson. Please stand up. Give her a hand. I want to thank Shira Wendling, who wrote the songs for the Katan, Aleph, and Bet students. I want to thank my photographer, Esther Bain. I want to thank Chantel Jackson for all the yummy snacks she provided for the students. And anyone who helped make snacks this week, please stand up. If you helped her, please stand up. Thank you. And I want to thank all my teachers, my Katan Aleph team, Sarah Beth Mason and Shannon Langton. My Katan Bet teachers, Aaron Sullivan, Selena Stevenson, and Nadia Carmona. My Gadol Aleph teachers, Gary Flint and Philip Mason. My Gadol Bet teachers, Wayne Brown and Michael Long. Thank you. And any parent helpers or any helper that came and served in the classes, please stand up for a moment so we can thank you. That's a lot of you. I also want to thank the YMTOI activities team who helped coordinate and volunteer for the afternoon activities with the children. I'm going to introduce my team supervisors, Bob Shepard and Gary Flint. I see Bob outside. My class leaders for Katan A, Danielle Copeland, Philip Mason, and Ben Troyer. My Katan Beth, Jonathan, Jeremy, and Sierra Troyer. My Gadol Aleph, Zach and Becky Gwynn. Gadol Bet, Joseph and Alexa Neal. And our support overall, Ben and Amy Callender. And I also want to thank Alexis for being there every day and helping, and also the nurses who were there, making sure that all the children were okay throughout the activities time. Thank you so much. And last but not least, I want to thank my pre-feast volunteers who came to Bet Shalom for about 5 to 6 hours and cut out all the crafts and notebook pages. I thank you all so much. Please stand up, Bet Shalomers. Thank you. And behind the scenes, I had, I didn't leave you out. I have one more before you. I want to thank the women who created and made possible the images and the notebook pages. Vera, who I hope is watching right now, she made all the adorable images for all the lessons. Thank you. And Shannon and Selena, who helped put everything together. Thank you. Because all our crafts and our notebook pages are made by MTOI. We don't take things from outside from anyone else, so it's such a blessing to have people that are gifted in that area and that serve the body. Because it's all about doing that, right? Working together to serve the body. Okay, so at this time, without further ado, I want to introduce Chantel Jackson, who was the leader over the snack making.
Shabbat shalom. I have no idea how this thing works. I don't want to hold this, but. Okay, so as you know, we were doing the 10 Commandments, and so we had a snack that went with just about every commandment. Well, no, we did all of them. Some of them we combined, but we still tried to make it, so that everyone was covered. So this is actually going to be our snack for today. It is the tablet. It's chocolate. So the kids are going to enjoy that as like the final day, like snack. You can go to the next slide. This was the first day. This was last Saturday. Commandment 1 is, I am Yahweh your Elohim. And so we used the burning bush as like a sign when Moses was in the desert and Yahweh was speaking to him in the bush. And you can find the story in Exodus 3. I was going to read everything to you guys, but I thought it might be a little long. Okay, the next day, yes. Commandment 2 and 3 we did on Sunday in the morning, and this was a lion to represent Daniel in the lion's den. And he kind of covered 2 of the commands because it's you shall have no other idols, and you shall not bring his name to shame. And so when he was presented with this decree saying, you're not going to pray to any other god except for the king that was there at the time, he decided, well, I'm going to do, what Yahweh said, and I'm going to go and I'm going to pray with my windows open. And he did it 3 times, and so they took him and they threw him in the den, but he got out, and the guys that made the decree, or that pushed it with the king, they ended up in the lion's den. They didn't make it out so great, so. That story is in Daniel 6. And then the next one. Commandment 4, it is, you shall keep the Sabbath day set apart. And so we used manna because they were to collect manna every day except for Shabbat. And so they collected extra on Friday. And the ones that did collect on Shabbat got in trouble. So the kids liked that snack. I thought it was sweet, like manna. And that story's in Exodus 16. And then we'll go to the next one. Commandment 5 was respect your father and your mother. And we also did, we're doing them separately. So respect your father and your mother. So Yeshua turned the water to wine. His mother had asked him to do it. And at first he was a little reluctant, like, no, it's not my time to do this yet. But she said, just do what he tells you to do. And he was obedient. He did what his mother asked. And that is in John 2. And then the next one, so that was the juice. I'm sorry. So we had water, and we had added some flavoring to it. So it looked like water, but it didn't taste like water. The next one, sorry. And then this was Commandment 6, which is do not kill. And so we did the kind bars for Joseph being kind to his brothers. Like, he had a lot of feelings that had, built up over the time that he was in Mitzrayim. And in his anger, if he had felt that, very easily could have, killed his brothers or did harm to them. But he didn't. He was kind and loving to them. And so we did the kind bars to show that he was being kind. And we did both of those, the juice and the kind bars, on the same day. We combined those. Next. Commandment 7. Sorry, trying to find my place. What was this? Tuesday. Okay. This was do not commit adultery. And another form of not committing adultery is faithfulness. And so we use the story of David showing faithfulness to the promise that he made Jonathan when his father was trying to kill David. So that the first story of where he actually made the promise to Jonathan is in 1 Samuel 20, and then where he carried out the promise was in 2 Samuel 9. And so he honored the promise that he had made to Jonathan at that time. And so we made friendship bracelets as a sign of their friendship together. And we gave each of the kids a string and the little Fruit Loops, and they got to make their own bracelets and then ate them. I don't know how long those lasted. Next. Commandment 8. This one was do not steal. And this was about Achan's tent. So they had gone into Jericho, and they were told not to take anything. Achan took a whole bunch of stuff, buried it in his tent, and Yahweh was really upset with them, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And so they went and they searched, and they found it, and things didn't end well for him. But that was do not steal, and we made little tents with the little cheese and the little Triscuit crackers and the lunch meat. So they had little mini sandwiches that day. And that story is in Joshua 7. Next. This was yesterday. This one was a fun little craft for us, but I guess they all seemed like crafts for the people that actually put the snacks together. So this was do not bear false witness and do not covet. We combined Commandment 9 and 10 for yesterday. And so we used the story of Naboth. He had a vineyard, the king wanted it, and so he did, I guess him and Jezebel kind of worked together in sneaky type of ways, and they got the vineyard. And so the king was coveting, and then Jezebel, put forth the murdering part. And then she had someone bear false witness against Naboth to get the land that was his. So we made coveting eyes, and these are grapes with little candy eyes in them. I heard the kids really liked them. They tasted fine, but they thought some of them were a little creepy. So that story was in 1 Kings chapter 21. And so that was everything. Like I said, today we're having the little tablets, and then we're going to have leftovers and stuff, so it should be a good day. But anyways, we had a lot of fun, and I really appreciate everybody that helped. We had a lot of fun together. So thank you very much. I wasn't finished. I forgot. Thank you to myself for coordinating and organizing the snacks for the YMTOI classes. I actually don't remember seeing that slide on the presentation last night. And then the other one, oh, well, I said thank you. Yes, and we definitely could not have done it without you, so I appreciate you.
Good morning. Shabbat shalom. Boker tov. All right. Thank you, Miss Chantel. You beautifully stole my thunder. I don't think I could have said it better, so now I have a lot less to say. No, I am Sarah. Well, let me back up. I am Maura Sarah Beth Mason, and this has been my assistant. I could not have done what I did this feast without her, Miss Shannon. And now it is my turn to tell you what we did in a little bit more detail. Although she tied the snacks and the stories together, so when I show you the crafts, you'll already understand. But I want to start by saying thank you for this privilege and this opportunity that you trusted me with these beautiful little children and getting to show them the beauty in the Torah and how they can do it in their lives at their age. So thank you, Rebbitzin and Rabbi, and to all of you parents for giving me this opportunity. I also want to thank Jeff and Danielle. You guys went above and beyond. Mr. Jeff was in my class every single day, and Danielle stayed. And Miss Danielle Copeland, she stayed in my class after to help clean up. She packed crafts. She finished crafts that the kids didn't have time to finish in class. It was just, she made our lives so easy. It was beautiful. Thank you so much. All right, now moving to the fun stuff. Commandment 1, I am Yahweh, as Ms. Chantel beautifully said. We taught that we need to remember who Yahweh is and what he did. He gave us freedom, and we must be careful not to forget that he is number one in our lives. And I asked the kids, what does that look like? How would you do that? When would be a time in your life you might forget? Miss Azalea, she raised her hand a lot. Parents should be very proud of her. Miss Azalea said, if you're scared or you're going through a trial or a test, you might forget that he's there and that he'll rescue you. I love it when the kids teach the class, and I'm like, okay, I'm done talking. You just taught the whole thing. And then it was beautiful how all the kids kept raising their hands, telling about a time when Yahweh had saved them, when Yahweh had been there for them and that they could trust on him to rescue them. I loved how they already had that. But I wanted to take it a step further because they were all excited about how he comes in and saves the day and everything's wonderful and beautiful. And sometimes him saving you doesn't look nice at first. So I got my first big gasp. We had several of those, and they were really fun that the whole class was just shocked by something I said. But I told them about my story, about the time I thought I knew better than Rabbi. And they were all like, and how Yahweh had corrected me in a really drastic way. And as soon as I corrected myself, that Yahweh fixed everything that he had, kind of like a spanking, he'd fixed everything after I corrected my attitude. So that Abba's rescuing me actually felt painful at the time, but it was him rescuing me. So that picture there, and I loved their faces. Somebody thought they knew better than Rabbi? Oh. I loved that reaction from them. All right, so yes, we taught the story, the burning bush, where he says to Moshe, I am Yahweh. And we made the craft to be a burning bush. So they made little jars. Well, they made bigger jars. Our example is a little one. And parents already received those yesterday. They got to put on the flames and put on the leaves, and if you take them home and you put a little candle inside, it looks like a burning bush, and it's really cool. All right, moving on to Commandment 2. no other Elohim. You shall have no other mighty ones besides me. We taught that we are to pray and worship and believe only in Yahweh our Elohim. No other pictures, no statues or jewelry that would represent him either. And we spent a lot of time talking about this belief in worship, and the kids were kind of frustrated because they kept wanting to take worship meaning praise. And it was like, no, that's not what it means. It means to bow down or to submit to obey. And then we talked about belief and how that's an action. If you believe someone, if you believe someone told you to come with them because your parents were calling you, if you believe them, you will take the action and go. And we need to believe Yahweh and take the action to do what he says. We believe he will bless us, so we're here today. We believe him, so we take an action. And this moment didn't actually happen in this class. It was one of those beautiful moments I got to tie the lesson back to another command because the Ten Commandments intermingle so beautifully. We were talking about don't commit adultery. And the kids kind of struggled with okay, well, what does that mean? I wanted to see where they were at, and they were a little bit fuzzy. And I asked them, well, what if my husband, Mr. Philip, was to go on a date with somebody else? It was another big gasp. It was great. It was really cute. And Judah, he screamed out, that would be cheating. I said, exactly. So take that back to Commandment 2. If we go and serve other mighty ones, if we're doing Christmas, if we're doing all these other things, that's committing adultery. That's worshiping another mighty one. That's worshiping someone else besides Yahweh. And yes, we taught the story of Daniel in the lion's den, as Chantel beautifully said. I can't be really mad at you for stealing my thunder because you did it so beautifully and I have less to say, but I'm like, now what do? I don't have much to say. And we made a lion puppet, paper bag, and they put the hair on him and the eyes. His eye fell off right before we got on stage, and apparently Shannon has saved him, and his eye is now staying on, so it's very, very beautiful. She does a great job. And then when we taught Commandment 3, same day but a separate lesson, you shall not bring the name of Yahweh to shame or to naught. As children of Yahweh, we need to represent him well. We are his representation. We need to protect his reputation in what we say and what we do. And I took it down to their level. It's like the brand McDonald's, you expect them to have nuggets. They're going to have nuggets. If you go to McDonald's, you're going to have nuggets. Well, what happens if they don't have nuggets one day, and the next day they don't have nuggets? Are you going to believe that McDonald's has nuggets, or is that going to hurt your belief that McDonald's has nuggets? And so I asked them, what about you? If people see you with your seat, if people see you eating pork or being unkind or, being coveting or not putting Yahweh first but putting yourself first, are people going to know who Yahweh is? How are we representing him? And I love that look in their eyes of, oh. So we taught the story of Yeshua in the temple when he was 12, being about his father's business, representing his father well, talking well, having that esteem of men and getting to talk about what esteem meant. And it was really, really fun. And how they represent their parents, and they all understood, like, yeah, my mom and dad don't want me to embarrass them. Same idea. So we made a 3D temple, which they really enjoyed coloring, and some of the kids got really into it and they had to copy the example perfectly, and it was, they took pride, and they were making a temple. And then moving to Commandment 4, to honor the Shabbat, to remember the Shabbat. It was beautiful to see how many children already connected with that and understood that. And it was like, yeah, we know that. We got to do Shabbat. Shabbat's like going on a date with Yahweh. We don't do what we want. We're giving him our full attention. talking about, like, if they went on a date with their parents, they wouldn't want their parents doing business on their phones the whole date. They'd want their attention. They'd want to see their parents' eyes, to have their attention. And Abby did the cherry on top for my lesson with, if you're driving, you have to pay attention to the road. You can't be distracted. Otherwise, you're not safe. So I loved how they were able to bring that in. And then our story, of course, was manna raining from heaven. And we got to make a little craft diorama of that. They got to put glue coconut down on it. They had a lot of fun. I don't think anybody tried to eat it, so that was good. All right. Moving on to Commandment 5, honoring a father and mother. Talking about giving honor. And they really kind of struggled with the concept of obedience versus respect. They just thought respect is obedience, which at their age, to a large degree, it is. But it's not just that. It's more than that. You can obey with a really bad attitude and be saying nasty things to your parent. That's not respect. You can be rolling your eyes and all kinds of stuff. And they had a bunch of great examples for how it would be bad versus how it would be good. They were connecting with that. Oh, we could do it this way. We could do it that way. And, you can be respectful and disobey and say, hey, you want me to do this, but I'm doing this that you already told me to do. Do you want me to stop and change? But I need to do this. So there's a respectful way to even disobey. If you need to in specific circumstances, you can submit and say, hey, how do I do this? And I loved that. And they came up with their own little slogan at the end of class was obedience. How did they say it? Respect isn't always... Nope, I've lost it. Never mind. It was similar to the bearing false witness is lying, but lying isn't always bearing false witness. They did it the reverse, but I have lost it, so I'm not going to stress about that. All right, so Levi added the comment to that interrupting Rabbi while he's talking would be disrespectful. So I really loved how they added that. And even the little ones were interacting. The whole class was interacting, raising their hands, wanted to talk, wanted to share, and had really good comments. And yes, we taught the story of Yeshua at the wedding. And since it was a wedding, there was a couple that got married. So we have a bride and groom, and little dolls that we made. They're really cute. And all of the kids, even the boys, got all excited about decorating them, putting the little gems on. I was really, really happy that they enjoyed it. All right, Commandment 6, do not murder. Again, we had a conversation back and forth about, well, that means don't kill. No, Yahweh said don't murder. He didn't say don't kill. He said if you, like in some of our later stories, we found out that, if you bore false witness, those 10 died. There was different, like Achan was killed, and so on and so forth. No, murder's different, and we got to talk about it, what that meant and what the difference was, and they came to it's if you're innocent, and who can declare you guilty? Can I decide my brother's guilty and should die? No, it has to be a judge. It has to go to the authority. So that murder is you deciding someone's guilty, or you just killing somebody innocent, like Jezebel did, and just killing to get what you wanted. So I really loved how they were able to, they really struggled with it, and I told them, no, it's not just killing. They're like, wait, what? And they started really wrestling to figure it out. What does this mean? What does this look like? And then when they finally figured it out, I was like, oh, okay, I understand it now. It was really beautiful to see how they interacted with that. They looked all upset when they gave me the answer, and I was like, no. And they're like, wait, what? And then the cherry on top for that was Azalea. She said, you can murder. She took it the deeper level. You can murder with your words. So I was expecting them to just talk about the action, but she went that step further and said, you can do it with your tongue. It doesn't have to be physical. It can be in words. We did the story of Joseph being kind to his brothers, and since rocks are hard, and usually, Goliath was killed with a rock, we decided to take those rocks and make a painting. We painted the rocks and wrote something that was the opposite of murder. So love, patience. Some of the kids wrote be kind. Some of the kids wrote Yahweh, because we're not supposed to hate our brothers. All right, moving on to Commandment 7. And as we said, we took it to the level of loyalty and being that friend for someone. As children, they can mimic this command. They're not married, so, you can just forget this command, right? No. We all keep it, but at different levels. How do we observe this command? And as children, you need to be loyal. You need to do what you say. You need to keep your promises. You have parents to be loyal to. You have siblings, friends. And they're trying to figure out, okay, now, what does that word mean, going into the definition of it? What does it look like? Miss Chloe said, like Esther was loyal. She risked her life for her people. She was loyal and went before the king to save her people if she could. But the very best example they found at the very end of class, I don't know why it took us that long to figure it out, but they found out, it's like Judah and Abby and how loyal they are to Agnes, to always be there for her and try to support her and comfort her, and they are loyal friends. And we did do the story of David and Mephibosheth, and they made friendship bracelets. And already in class, some of the girls were going, "Oh, can I give this to my friend over here? Can I make this for her?" It's like, yes, it's your craft. You can do whatever you want with it. So they will be, I'm sure, some bracelet exchanges this afternoon when I give them their crafts. All right, moving on to number 8. Do not steal. Now, this was kind of obvious for them. They were all like, don't take what belongs to somebody else. And so we've got to take it to the deeper level. Time, tithing, don't take other people's work. I don't remember how we got on this concept, but it was, you can't sing Brianna's song and say it was your song. It's Brianna's song. That would be stealing. And I loved how even the 5-year-olds were like, oh, yeah, you don't take somebody else's stuff. If somebody else has something and you want it, you don't get to take it. And we did the story of Achan, and we made his tent. So you've got the flaps that come open, the rug and all the things that he stole hiding in the hole underneath. That was a lot of fun to make. I'm sure it'll be more fun to play with, though. All right. And Commandment 9, do not bear false witness. You don't make up stories about other people they came up with, like, don't blame other people for things that you did, trying to cast the blame. And for that one, we did the story of the 12 spies. So we made grapes, which kind of goes along with Ahab trying to steal the vineyard. So we kind of combined the 2 crafts into one, because he wanted to steal the vineyard. And on top, I'm going to get there later. I guess I'll wait for Commandment 10. So we started it, and then we went to do not covet. You have to be glad for what you have, and don't be jealous of the things that your friends have that you don't. One of the things I loved was they were like, they're like, okay, if you see something somebody else has, you don't want it because you're going to take it. They went straight to the don't stealing, which was beautiful because I got to say, yeah, if you covet somebody else's Christmas tree, you might try to keep Christmas, which would be breaking number 2. If you're coveting a toy, you might take it. Now you're breaking number 8. If you covet, somebody else's wife, now which one are you breaking? Don't commit adultery. And the kids are just like, oh, if I do this, it leads to this and this and this and this and this. And it was beautiful to see them making those connections. But I think my very favorite question was the very last one Mrs. Zelia asked. She said, what if I want the kingdom? What if I covet the kingdom? And it was just, you could see that there's something I really want. So then we went to the deeper level of, okay, something you really want, But is it something that you can earn, or is it something you're trying to skip earning and doing the work, and you're trying to just go grab it? So you can do the work and pay for the toy at the store. That's fine. You can have it. You can't take it without paying for it. There's a process. There's a way to do it. You can have the kingdom. You can't make heaven on earth and try to make everything pretty here. You have to do the work to get to the kingdom. And I just loved how all the kids were just paying attention and listening and absorbing these things. And then so the opposite of coveting, or the antidote for coveting, is being thankful. So the children wrote on the top of their leaves something they were thankful for. And since one craft a day, or 3 or 4 crafts a day, wasn't enough, we made one final craft so that they could take like a keepsake and remember all of them. And the images have inside the number embedded in it the story somehow, so that they can remember and keep track of which one's which. And then the last thing I want to talk about before I let the children do the talking, as we got to play some different games, and my favorite game was the cup stacking game, only because it got to show how much the children know. And the prize this year, this feast, goes to Miss Scarlett, who got this cups in order, not just in order because they're numbers, so it's easy to get them in order. She got them saying them in order in 45 seconds. All right, enough of me. How about we have the children do the talking now? Katane, go ahead and stand up. You can take that off.
All right. The challenge with the sound and everything, I got it fixed about 2 seconds into the song. I think it was so great. I want to hear it again. You want to hear it again? All right. You guys ready to do it again? All right.
All right, and next we are going to share with you all the pictures from this week. Enjoy.
Good morning and Shabbat Shalom. I am Maura Aaron, and I had the pleasure of teaching the Katan B class this week. My assistants were Miss Selena. She's going to Vanna our craft notebook for you, and Miss Nadia. Will you stand up? I could not have done everything that I did without these ladies. I taught the class, and they were working like busy bees behind me getting everything ready and set up for the crafts and doing what needed to be done. So really appreciate you ladies. Thank you to all the parent helpers who helped us. I had several parents who worked several days because we had holes to fill in the schedule. So thank you for the time that you spent with us. My class, thank you for making this a good first feast teaching experience for me. You guys were great, and we had so much fun. We laughed a lot. We learned a lot. Thank you, last but not least, to Rebbitzin and to Rabbi for the opportunity to do this. I know it was... You've been doing this for a long time. Not easy to pass the torch to somebody else. So thank you for trusting me to do that. So we went through the 10 Commandments just like the other classes. The first one, well, we made a craft notebook here that goes through each of the commandments. The outside cover has a picture of the numbers of each commandment and a picture that goes along with it. Oh, Miss Shannon talked about the numbers, I guess. She created those and designed them, and Miss Selena colored them. You did? All right, so the first lesson that we did was the first commandment, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. Exodus 3:14 through 15 describes Moshe's first meeting with Yahweh at the burning bush. So we have a burning bush at the bottom of our page. And he says, who should I tell the people that sent me? And he said, I am Yahweh, I am that I am. Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and my remembrance to all generations. We have the commandment at the top here of each page, a small section for Hebrew words. The first lesson's words were Elah, which is awesome or fearful one, and Mayim, which means water. And we had a bookmark at the bottom of the page that they could put their name on or decorate however they chose to. We talked a little bit about the things that Yahweh did to deliver Israel from Egypt. He gave the 10 plagues that came down over Mitzrayim. He led them by a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire to bring them out. And he delivered them from the Mitzrites at the Red Sea. And yet they still grumbled. And he then provided them with bread and water. And Mayim was the water there. In each lesson, we contrasted and compared two stories of people who obeyed Yahweh's commands, each commandment, or disobeyed the commands. And in this lesson, we talked about Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They and the men in the kingdom who approached the king about, pretending to be servants, loyal to the king, that no one should ask anything of anyone but the king. And we know that resulted in Daniel going to the lion's den. And it showed Yahweh's deliverance of him, just like he did with Israel coming out of Mitzrayim. We talked a little bit about Jonah as well, and he first runs from Yahweh, but then does declare that ultimately deliverance comes from Yahweh. The conclusion of the matter for our first commandment was that Yahweh is number one. I am Yahweh your Elohim, since the land of Mitzrayim, and an El beside me you shall not know, for there is no Savior besides me. The second commandment, thank you. In Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5 say, you shall have no other mighty ones against my face. You shall not make for yourselves a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them. This one makes it very clear that Yahweh will not share his position, glory, or praise with another, and that nothing in our lives should be worshipped above him. So our craft page included the golden calf that they glued on and covered in gold. The Hebrew words for our lesson, thank you, were Elohim, which is mighty one, and Pesel, which is carved image. We talked a little bit about the different forms of idolatry that we can commit. Actually worshiping an image like we have on our notebook page, or worshiping ourselves and thinking that we can adopt any practice to our worship of Yahweh, even if it's not something that he has appointed for us. And then last, worshiping things that aren't necessarily carved images, but they're things that take our time away from him. The stories that we talked about in this lesson were King Solomon and the example that he gave to his people and his children of allowing his wives to turn his heart away from Yahweh. And then again about Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego not bowing down to the king's idol and being delivered from the fiery furnace. The conclusion of the matter for commandment number 2 was that nothing compares to Yahweh. Go ahead. Commandment number 3. You do not bring the name of Yahweh to naught, for Yahweh does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught. Our notebook page included a talit with tzitzit on the sides. The children tied their little tzitzits on the corners, showing that those are what we're to look at and remember, that we're to keep his commandments and to not bring shame to his reputation or his name. This was the first lesson that we talked about how breaking one commandment leads to another. When you break one, it's very easy to break the other ones because of their close connection. So if we forget who Yahweh is, then we'll have other mighty ones, whether it's ourselves or other people or things, and then we will end up misrepresenting him to everyone else. The Hebrew word for this lesson was Shem, which means name. And the conclusion of the matter was, if you claim his name, do not bring him shame. All right, number 4. Remember the Sabbath day to set it apart. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th is a Sabbath of Yahweh your Elohim. You do not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. In this lesson, we were instructed to remember, or zakar, the Sabbath day. It was also the longest list of Hebrew words we had. So we had zakar. You can open them all. I can't see them from there. Zakar, to remember. Shamar, to guard. Asa, to observe or keep. Yom is for day. Mikra Kodesh, for appointed times. Kodesh is set apart and holy. And then Menukah for rest. Oh, and one more, Avodah, and that's work. We looked at the story of Nehemiah and how he saw people in the city polluting the Sabbath, and he closed the gates and asked them to guard them so that they could keep the Shabbat set apart. We have the Kiddush cup and the challah on our notebook page. Each one of our challah tabs has a different word that talks about keeping the Shabbat. I need to look at that with me. So we had refuel, remember, to reflect, rest, recharge, refresh, and rejuvenate. And we talked about the different ways we can remember the Shabbat and what we can do on that day that's appropriate. Our verse in the center was Exodus 31:13. And you shall speak to the children of Israel, saying, My Sabbaths you are to guard by all means, for they are a sign between me and you throughout your generations, to know that I, Yahweh, am setting you apart. The conclusion of our commandment 4 was the Sabbath was made for man. The fifth commandment, respect your father and mother. In Exodus 20:12 and Deuteronomy 5:16 is the first commandment with promise. If we obey our parents, we will have long days upon the land, and that it will be well with us. And we see that again in Ephesians 6:1, where it tells us to obey our parents in the master, for this is right. We talked a little bit about the vertical relationship between Yahweh and our parents and us, and Yahweh and us. And we know that Rabbi talks about that a lot too. We did discuss that and how Rabbi is in there between us and Yahweh as well in that structure. We talked about the Hebrew words Abba and Ima, meaning mother and father, and Kavod and Shema, which mean honor and obey. One of the stories we discussed was about Elisha the prophet who went up to Bethel, and some youths came out and were very disrespectful to him. And we talked about the consequences of their actions being pretty severe because they had disrespected Yahweh's prophet. We don't see those consequences usually in our time here, but the seriousness of it is still the same. We talked a little bit about the prodigal sons, or the son who left and dishonored his father and then ended up repenting and coming back to then serve and honor his father. And how Yeshua honored his mother at the wedding of Cana when they ran out of wine, and she told the servants, do whatever he tells you to do. And he honored her request, even if it didn't seem that important. He gave us the example of how he obeyed his father, just like we're to obey our earthly parents. On our notebook page, we have a little wheel that turns, showing how Yeshua turned the water into wine. The conclusion of our matter for Commandment 5 was honor your Abba and Ima. All right, number 6. This was the kids' favorite because it has a sword that comes off, and they could have sword fights. You do not murder. Elohim gave us all life, and we were given a very special gift, unlike the other creatures that Yahweh created. And so we talked about why murdering is such sadness in Yahweh's eyes, because he gave us life, and he's the only one who has the power to take that, or the right to take that. In most translations, we talked about how in most translations it says you shall not kill, and the difference between killing and murdering, and how Yahweh created circumstances for his people that if someone was killed on accident, that they would not be guilty for that. Our words for this lesson were, nakah, which means to kill, ratzak, which means to murder, and chai, which means life. The stories that we contrasted were of Cain and Abel, and we know that Cain ended up killing his brother out of hatred and anger, and he murdered him. And then we talked about David and Goliath, where he wasn't murdered. Yahweh had instructed him to kill him because he was doing things that were in opposition to Yahweh. The conclusion of the matter for Commandment 6, because Yahweh loves all life, don't have strife. Commandment number 7, you do not commit adultery. We learned how adultery is not just the act of being unfaithful to your spouse, but being unfaithful to Yahweh. When we are not faithful, loyal, trustworthy, and committed to him and to our families. We have a picture of a bride and a groom underneath the huppah to show that faithfulness between a husband and a wife. And then our words for this lesson. Yep. We're echad, which means one. Scattered, and that the Hebrew word is, can you put that back, Jezreel? Yeah. Lo ami, meaning not my people. And then no mercy and no compassion, lo ruchama. And we talked about the story of Hosea and how he was instructed to marry Gomer, a woman who wouldn't be faithful to him. So we could see the pain that Yahweh suffers whenever we aren't faithful to him. The conclusion of our matter, number 7, was leave your house and cleave to your spouse. The 8th commandment, you do not steal. We learn that ultimately everything we have comes from Yahweh, and we need to trust him to supply all of our needs, so there's no need for us to take things that don't belong to us. We talked about the story of Achan, when the people went to Jericho and they were told not to keep anything for themselves, but to take it to the temple or to the house of Elohim in the treasury of Yahweh. But Achan saw the things that he wanted and he took them and buried them beneath his tent. So we have Achan's tent with the items that he stole underneath the flap. Through Achan's disobedience, Yahweh showed the Israelites that disobeying him was very serious, and it not only affected him, but his family and the entire nation of Israel. Lo tignov was our Hebrew word for this lesson, and it means do not steal. We talked about robbing Yahweh and how when we are giving our tithes and offerings to him, that we are honoring him with that and stealing when we do not. And we might think that no one sees those things if we're not doing them, but sin is like an elephant in a room that you're trying to hide under your bed, and something is going to stick out. We talked about the story of Rachel, who stole her father's idols and hid them, and how her sin of stealing them led to a lie and breaking of other commandments as well. So the conclusion of the matter for Commandment 8 is sharing is caring, and stealing is not appealing. The 9th commandment, you do not bear false witness against your neighbor. This commandment specifically deals with bearing false witness against your neighbor and not lying. So we talked about the difference between lying and bearing false witness, and how in bearing false witness you can actually have your hand in something that's very damaging to the people that you love and to the people that you're connected with. When you falsely accuse someone, you're spreading lies and damaging their character. And that took us back to the 7 things that Yahweh hates. And those 2 things that we connected with this were a lying tongue and a false witness breathing out lies. And the kids actually brought in another one to sowing discord among the brethren. Our picture on the bottom shows a brother and a sister arguing. He said this, she did this, and mom is in the middle telling them to stop. And that ties back to the having 2 or 3 witnesses to establish every matter. The stories that we talked about here were about the midwives who disobeyed Pharaoh's decrees and saved alive the baby boys. And then Rahab, who hid spies, and how they're, we would call them lies, I guess, but they were done to preserve life and to oppose evil, and that Yahweh looked on them favorably for that, and that it was not the same as bearing false witness. Our Hebrew words were kazab, and that is lie, and shaker, and that is false witness. And the conclusion of the matter for Commandment 9 was that Yahweh cannot bear a false witness, and our lesson had a cute little bear on it on the witness stand. All right, the last one, Commandment number 10, you do not covet. The picture on the bottom is of Naboth's vineyard and King Ahab looking out over that. We talked about the progression of coveting leading to other breaking of commandments as well. And we know that Ahab's coveting of the vineyard led to not only his sin, but to other people's sins. The words chamad for covet and desire for avah, and we looked at the difference between those two as well, and how the fruit of the Spirit works into our desire and our ability to keep these commandments. Go ahead and open that. Inside, we wrote some of the things that we are grateful for. In the conclusion of the matter, you want me to share them? Right. So some of the things that we put in here were Yeshua, our rabbi, and our rebbitzin. Food, shelter, Torah, my friends, hugs, and then the kids added their own too. Maybe Parker will share his with you. No? All right. The conclusion of the matter for Commandment 10 for us was fulfill your need and not your greed. So each of them have a notebook like this to take home with them, in addition to the lessons that we went over together. All right. Are they ready to come up? They're going to sing their song for you now.
Thank you. Okay, just so that we're clear, we are already broadcasting this, and so filming of these things should be asking permission to film. Got all kinds of people filming and sharing and doing all those kinds of things. So do you want to give everybody permission to film and broadcast wherever they want? Okay. But I'm just saying, is it just for future reference, these are things that you should always ask. If we're doing something, you should be asking if you could be broadcasting and filming it yourself. Okay, so apparently you all have permission, but I just wanted to give you the right protocol for that. All right, children, you ready? All right, so that was just a warm-up. You guys ready to really do it now? Yeah. Okay, I want it nice and loud. You guys are all ready and warmed up. Because remember, Katana, you got to go twice. We're ready this time. All right, let's get that music ready to go.
They're going to show the slideshow of pictures that Rebbitzin took for us this week of crafts and song.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So I am Moray Gary Flint, and this is Moray Philip Mason. And so this is the first year that I've had the opportunity as well to teach a class. And I would like to begin by thanking Rabbi and Rebbitzin for the honor and the opportunity to do so. I would also like to thank the parents who entrust us with such a responsibility and blessing us with your children to come to the feast and to share them with us and to be able to give them something hopefully that will go in and something that they will lead and direct them in their path as they begin to journey in their life to transition from the age where they're in that age where they're beginning to question things, and they've got to decide as they go forward as they're going to walk this out. So I want to thank you all for that opportunity as well. And I also was very blessed this time to do this the first time, but to have my friend here, Philip, and so he really helped me out a lot, and as did many of the parents and the helpers, so I'd like to thank you all as well for that support. So as part of my adjusting to doing this, I had a little bit of learning, and my style is, I think me and Philip worked really well together because he brings a certain element that I don't necessarily have. But as we began to kind of figure it out and observe the children, we also had some really great input from some of the helpers. And one in particular, I'd like to thank the Cartwrights, who are not here, but they definitely gave us some input that I believe was just invaluable as to setting up the class. So I would really like to thank them. I know they're probably at home watching. So as we were going through it, we were trying to decide how we were going to teach the class and what would be most beneficial to the children. So I can stand up and talk and teach them the commands, but I believe it's more beneficial if they learn together. And so we were trying to figure out how that was going to look, and as we do the presentation, what we were going to do. And I wanted to showcase the children to be able to come up here and to be able to see, for the parents, to be able to see what it is that you get when you come to an MTOI feast. What is it that a return on your investment to make the effort to come here and entrust your children in this very well put out program. And so as we did that, we decided to take the children as we observed them, see their personalities and start grouping them together. And we had 7 groups of 4. And so, and each team had called it a team leader, someone who was just kind of taking point and being able to delegate responsibility and things. And as we went through each lesson, each command, we decided I would start out and we would discuss the first half or so of the page, and we began to let them take over, and they would read or look up. We would talk about the commandment and what it is, and then would turn over to them to look up the scriptural references of examples where someone kept it and where someone broke the command. And then they would, as each person did that, every person was to kind of bring a conclusion or a summation of what they got out of that command. And then the team together was to take each person, all their thoughts, and coalesce that into one complete thought. And what we planned to do was the groups will come up and present each of the commands, and they're going to state what the command is, an example of someone keeping the command, and then an example of someone not keeping the command, and their coalesced thought of what that command meant to them. So we're going to have them come up, and we're going to have them present. As they come up, we're going to have some teams, obviously with 7 teams of 4. We will have some who will do a repeat, but we're going to present, or they are going to present them in the order that they have them, and we will showcase what they've learned this week. So if the Gadol A, everyone would come up and line up, and we will go through the presentation for them to show you what they learned this week.
Okay, sorry. Commandment 1 is, I am Yahweh your Elohim who... Shut up. Sorry, I'm sorry. Who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery.
An example of somebody keeping the first commandment is Daniel when he obeyed Yahweh and acknowledged him as his Elohim, and in return was protected from the hungry lions.
An example of when somebody who broke the first commandment is when Jonah disobeyed Yahweh by running away from the city of, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like, I don't know, Nineveh. Okay, and in return was followed by a big fish.
What Commandment 1 means to us is, just as Yahweh delivered the children of Israel out of Mitzrayim, he will deliver us on our walk.
Commandment 2 is, you have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them or serve them. For I, Yahweh your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing kindness to thousands to those who love me and guard my commands. Exodus 20, verses 3 through 6.
An example of somebody keeping the second command is when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to bow down to the golden idol King Nebuchadnezzar erected. They were thrown into a furnace, but still remained loyal to their Elohim. Daniel 3.
An example of someone not keeping the second command is when the children of Israel built and worshipped the golden calf as an idol. Exodus 32, verse 1 through 5.
What the second commandment means to us is because he brought us out of Mitzrayim, we should show gratefulness to him. To show our gratitude, we should stay loyal and not worship other gods.
Okay. Commandment 3 is, you do not bring the name of Yahweh your Elohim to naught, for Yahweh does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught. Yep.
An example of somebody keeping the third commandment is Yeshua when he was 12 years old, sitting in the temple among the teachers, listening and asking questions.
An example of someone not keeping the third commandment is Saul, who represented Yahweh and did not kill the Amalek king and livestock.
What Commandment 3 means to us is, if we claim to represent Yahweh, we should demonstrate righteousness and not sinful behavior.
The fourth commandment is, remember the Sabbath day to set it apart. 6 days you labor and shall do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh your Elohim. You do not do any work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and he rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the seventh day and set it apart.
An example of somebody keeping the fourth command is Yeshua, who stood up in the congregation on the Sabbath day and read.
An example of someone not keeping the fourth commandment is the man who went to gather wood on the Sabbath day.
6 days you labor, and on the seventh day you rest. Rest in this context means studying his word, which is the blessing or the rest of the Sabbath. Remembering it is setting it apart from personal pleasures. Guarding it is observing his word. So in order to keep the Sabbath, you have to remember and guard his word.
Give it to the next one.
Have it up next to your mouth so you can everybody.
The fifth commandment is respect your father and mother so that your days are prolonged and that is well with you on the soil that Yahweh your Elohim has given you. Exodus 20:12.
An example of somebody keeping the fifth commandment is when Yeshua turned water into wine when his mother asked him to, despite Yeshua saying it was not his time yet.
An example of someone not keeping the fifth commandment is when Jacob's sons made a plan to take revenge on Shechem and killed all the men of the town.
Yahweh gave you parents to help guide and instruct you in life. Disrespecting them is like disrespecting Yahweh.
Commandment 6 is you do not murder.
An example of somebody keeping the sixth commandment is David when he was presented with an opportunity to go into a cave while King Saul slept and murder him. David refused to do so.
An example of someone not keeping the sixth commandment is when Cain murdered his brother Abel.
Murder can be physical, verbal, or mental. Verbal is lashon hara, evil tongue, or speech. Physically, by planning to take the life of another person and doing so. Mentally is imagining a world without that person in it. Murder is not the same as killing. Killing is unintentional.
Commandment 7 is you do not commit adultery.
An example of somebody keeping the seventh commandment is Joseph when tempted by Potiphar's wife ran from the situation.
An example of somebody not keeping the seventh commandment is King David when he had a man killed and took his wife for himself.
What the seventh commandment means to us is that if you are in the covenant, you are married to Yahweh. We should not be worshiping or interacting with other mighty ones. We would then be breaking the covenant and committing spiritual adultery against Yahweh.
Commandment 8 is you do not steal.
An example of somebody keeping the eighth commandment is Ruth, who instead of just going and taking grain, asked where she could go to glean the grain. An example of somebody not keeping the eighth commandment is Rachel stealing her father's idols.
What Commandment 8 means to us. We are not to take things that don't belong to us and respect everyone's items.
Commandment 9 is you do not bear false witness against your neighbor.
An example of somebody keeping the ninth commandment is Rahab when she hid the two spies. When she was asked if she knew whose they were, she said no to protect their lives.
An example of someone not keeping the ninth commandment is when Queen Jezebel brought false witness against Naboth to have him murdered.
Do not sing things to get somebody in trouble or bring suspicion upon them.
Commandment 10 is you do not covet your neighbor's house, you do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor.
An example of somebody keeping the 10th command is when Yeshua was tempted by Hasatan. Hasatan offered Yeshua all the reigns of the world and their esteem, but Yeshua refused. An example of somebody not keeping the 10th commandment is King David, who coveted another man's wife. This led him to break the 3rd, 7th, and the 6th command.
What Commandment 10 means to us. If there is something you want, you should make sure it's your desire, or that your desires are correct. This is a want or a need. Then work to obtain it righteously, also being grateful for what you have and not wanting to take it from others.
All right, thank you guys. You guys did a great job. And now we have a little bit of photos to go through and show what they did in class.
Good morning, family. How are we all doing today? Well, I am Moray Wayne, and this is Moray
Michael Long.
Okay. And we are your Gadol B teachers. I just want to start off and say, wasn't this a great feast, everybody? Yeah. Did you love it? Come on, I can't hear you. Was this a good feast? All right, that's what I'm talking about. As you know, our focus this week was on the 10 Commandments. Our goal this week was to engage our young adults in a deeper understanding. We use this time to present an important opportunity to further their basic understandings of the commands and present them in the full intent of each command, by which our beloved Rabbi has taught us in many teachings over the years, spirit and truth. Truth meaning the mechanics, and the spirit being the fullness of the intent, the advanced knowledge of the command. And as you noticed, that I've called them young adults and not teens, because that's what they are right now. They're on that step to become an adult, and this is the kind of stuff that they need to know right now.
My turn. This is never easy. We're told to imagine everybody in their underwear, but I don't think that's conducive to Torah keeping, so I'll do the best I can. All right. So this feast, we challenged our students to look at the 10 Commandments, not so much from the Peshat level, but kind of more going into the allegorical level and the hinted at level. We had our students approach each command with their own interpretations of ideal outcomes and meanings in the grand scheme of things. We then used James 2:10 as a launching point to explore the intertwined nature of the commands and how the trespass of one command almost always simultaneously infringes upon multiple commands. For example, one of the ones that we went over was in the case that someone should break command 7 and to be adulterous, you can prove that right off the bat they're in violations of commands at least 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and 10. The hypotheticals were abound and the debates were fruitful.
So as we come to the end of our class this week, we decide to have the students express themselves in a creative way to show how they perceive each command. It is critical in this time that they learn to understand what the true commandments means to them, spiritual. So in their own ways, we had them illustrate the interpretation of the command. Each student designed their own part. We were amazed at how well they were able to take in the full meaning of each command. As you can see, we decided to use a wall to help illustrate the commandment. In doing so, we also wanted to demonstrate the individuality of each command and how each command interacts with one another. Therefore, we set each panel to represent a command to help the students grasp the concept of being what it is to be a watchman on the wall, and to know what it means to be on guard. So we have our 2 guards on the side that are continually watching. So students, I ask you, what is James 2:10? Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the root of commandment breaking?
Self-sovereignty.
Very good.
We asked each of our students to pick a command and give us their own understanding of the truth and spirit aspects of their command. So, with command 1, we had Diego and Kayla, and they see the first command as the understanding of his authority and that the Torah is the proclamation of it. Command 2, Taylor sees it as a command not to devote more time and or energy into self-serving endeavors or serving rival authorities, which can include yourself. Command 3, Brianna and Ben see the Torah as the embodiment of Yah's love and name. Conducting ourselves in a negative way while proclaiming ourselves to be under his authority sheds a bad light on his name and brings it to naught. Command 4, Katie believes we are not to let anything interfere with our observance of his prescribed days. Command 5, Ryan, Wayne, and Christian see this is not just limited to honoring our literal mother and father, but the roles of mother and father are merely physical representations of roles in a command structure that falls in line with Yahweh's plan. Command 6, Stephen and Wesley see murder to be any hatred one might have in their heart for another person. They do not believe even on an emotional level murder is conducive to a functioning society. Command 7, Ashlyn and Jason surmise that adultery can be something seemingly as benign as a distraction. Even if we do not guard ourselves, a distraction can tear us away from the most important things. Command 8, Avery and Evelyn believe stealing can be just as emotional as physical. Stealing anything is a selfish act that hurts the one being stolen from immediately and the one stealing in the long run. Command 9, Emery distinguishes a difference between lying and bearing a false witness. Bearing false witness is lying about a person with malicious intent for some level of personal gain. Sorry. Lastly, Command 10. Sky and Dawson's take on coveting is that the distinction between admiration or emulation of another person's property and coveting lies in the behaviors as a result. If one's behavior is changed in a negative way that causes strife in either party's life, admiration ends and coveting begins.
What else do we have next?
Your last one.
Which one was
It's this one.
Okay. Are we ready? No. Oh. No. Take 2. Well, we had it. Yeah, we can. We just want to end it off, though. All right, before we play the video, we'll just want to end it off and just thank you, Rebbeson, and thank you, Rabbi, for allowing this. We want to give all the credit to the children right now. They were amazing. Parents, we thank you for letting us have the opportunity to teach and let them explore together the commands. We thank y'all to all our helpers that came in and helped and everything, and we're just so grateful. So with that, let's have a look at what we did this week.
But first, Stephen and Wesley are going to make up a song about self-sovereignty right now.
Wave Beats Music.
Wow, what an awesome job. Well, I am here because it's really hard, I think, for Rebbetzin to say anything about herself. So here I am to say something about Rebbetzin. If you'll go ahead and start the video, we've got a couple of thank yous to do. And first and foremost, of course, is to Rebbetzin for her leadership of the YMTOI program. And we can go with the video if it's is it going? It is? Okay, so you can see we've got our teachers up there and all the people that have really been critical to teaching your kids. And so we're just so grateful to all of them for their time, their effort, their energy that they put in. That must be the last one where they were jumping. We're done. We did it. We're all over. End of feast. Yay. Okay. So, and they really had a blast doing it, but you do need to know how much effort and energy goes in for the preparation, not only for, at the younger ages, it's the crafts. At the older ages, it's making sure that they're digging deep into the word, that they're really giving them meat, that they're not just getting milk. And it takes effort and time from all of these folks. So please, if you have children in the program, if you don't have children in the program, please approach them later and let them know how much you appreciate all the time, effort, and energy that they have put into all this, because it was truly a labor of love, I can promise you. They love your children. They do this because they do love your children. And now this year, we had something really special happen in our nursery. We had a couple of ladies in particular. I understand it was Lindsay Bodley and Laura Davis. And if you're in here, stand up so I can see you. Where are you? Lindsay Bodley, and Laura Davis. Okay. These ladies decided that your preschool children needed preparation for our YMTOI program. And they took it upon themselves to give those children just a little bit of fun time and just some structure to get them ready for it. So we're going to show you a quick video of what they did. Go ahead and run that. And immediately following that one, you're going to see the together time.
Pick up your hammers. It's time to start working. Bang, 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 hold your hammer low. Bang, 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 give a heavy blow. For it's work, 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 every day and every night. For it's work, 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 when it's dark and when it's light. Okay now, put down your hammers. Now let's pick up our shovels. It's time to dig.
Oh, isn't that amazing? The whole thing. Awesome. Every year I think, how are we going to pull this off? We're not professionals. We're just servants of Yahweh, and because of that, Yahweh helps us to pull it all together. So thank you, everyone. I do have a few more people I want to thank. The slides were done by Stephanie Meyer and Esther Bain, so give them a big round of applause. I don't see Esther. Is she serving somewhere? Oh, there she is. Thank you so much. That was awesome. I didn't get to see the Gadol ones or the Together time, and it was phenomenal. I also want to thank Marty and all his camera crew for serving in this manner and helping us to put this all together. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be in here, but I imagine seeing it on your screens, it must be just amazing, and I look forward to seeing it when I go home. Last but not least, I want to thank my husband, Rabbi Steve Berkson, who's talking right now and organizing. I'm very blessed to be married to him and the mandate that he has. You missed all the good things I said about you.
Things came up that I had to answer a question.
No, that's okay.
Say them all over again. I'm ready.
Okay. Take two. I just wanted to thank you so much for providing this venue for us and for Abba working through you. And I am very blessed to be your wife and to be a helpmate to you.
Appreciate that. All right. Amen, amen. Okay. So, and I apologize because things are always happening, always need decisions being made. And so as she's saying all these nice things, I'm ready to be coming up here. And so, okay, so let me give those quick announcements before I forget. Okay, Uncle Bob needs about 10 people in the kitchen. All right, so we can get 10 volunteers to go ahead and get over to the back and head over towards the kitchen. Also, vegetarians, when we do serve the meal, okay, as you're facing the building, the doors that we've been mostly going on in through, the double doors with the glass, so that door, okay, that's for the non-vegetarians. We have these other doors that don't have glass on them, double doors. We want the vegetarians to go in that way because we want to seat you together so we can feed you together more easily to make sure that we have you guys covered, okay? So vegetarians will go in through the doors on the right. We'll have some people over there. Now, back to this. Wow. I mean, that was just unbelievable. What it was. Great job. All right, children. I am so proud of you. You guys did an incredible job. Not just an incredible job like a performance, but you did a great job of coming here and engaging with each other, with the teachers, and with the Torah of Yah, and with the material. And you showed and demonstrated that you understood what you were being taught, and that you could understand what Abba wants from you, the Father wants from you, and it was just so great. You know, we tried to engage the children at their level. You know, some people might think, oh, I don't know if I want to go to that event or that feast. Well, your children want to come. Children, you want to come to the next feast? Okay? Because they get to interact with each other and have fun and also learn. We've had a few parents come up over the years saying, what are you doing? I go, what do you mean? He said, my children wake up telling me, hurry up, Mom, I have to get to class. You have to get to class? The children want to go to these classes. They want to be with each other. They also love learning and understanding these things, and it's such a good, beautiful thing. And the singing, oh my gosh, children, you sang so beautifully. Great job. And another fantastic job by Shira with the songs and writing those songs for the children. And of course, my wife already thanked everyone. Thank you to all you teachers. And a special thanks to the fact that all you teachers did such a great job that this is the first time that Rebbitzin did not actually have a class that she had to teach, but she got to go from classroom to classroom. We have evidence. And it was pictures of her in each classroom where she got to supervise and check on things. And so that was a first for her. And I think that, you know, she had total peace and shalom and trust in you guys. You guys did a fantastic job. Okay, so again, for those of you that may be watching and thinking about this, I mean, this is a celebration of a feast, but it's also a building of community, a coming together of a family, a sitting at the feet of the Father as He teaches us His ways at all ages, at all levels. And, you know, like I said, the children had 7 classes during the week to learn 10 commandments and have presentations and do all. It's amazing they did all of that in a week. Okay? I mean, it's fantastic. It also looks like when they have their outside activities, they certainly had a great time playing the different games out there and just really enjoying each other's company, building friendships that will, you know, for some of them will last a lifetime. I mean, they're really building some friendships, and it's fantastic. And so I, again, just have to say, praise Yah. I'm so proud of you. I really believe that what we did and what you children have done this week is a pleasing thing in the sight of the Father. Amen. Amen. And while I do appreciate, you know, the kind words from all of the people, especially from my wife, you guys need to know, because I know you know I work hard, and you know that the hours I work, but when I come home, or even throughout the day and check on what things are going on, she is almost always working on the YMTOI program, whether it's the Parsha Pearls each week or planning for the next feast, because I know she's already going to be working on the next feast, like starting Monday. You know what I'm saying? So it takes that long to develop all of these programs and have everything ready for the children, especially when you're developing them, you know, yourself. You're not using other people's existing materials, but you're doing these things from scratch. And of course, sometimes you're redoing them and redoing because all kinds of new, greater ideas come in, and you get all excited about something new you want to add to the mix. And some of you children may remember we've done some of these in the past, but just like when I do a teaching that was older, it ends up being new and different and full of all of exciting new things. The same thing with the YMTOI program. And the YMTOI program, I know, is going to continue to be a big part of the ministry here, as we have the YMTOI Academy here that's been developing, and we have the Parsha Pearls that we put out every week, and we have the feast programming. And we're hoping to do even more things for the children so that they can continue to engage with each other and engage with their Messiah and the Father all through the living Torah. Amen? Amen. All right. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. Appreciate everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Be back here at 2:30 for our Holy Day and Shabbat service.